Welcome to the PDX files. Each week we dive into the weird and the unexplained here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. My name is Peej.
And I'm Mac.
Mac, what are we talking about today?
Well, it's kind of a subject I think a lot of our listener probably knows about a little bit is the Skinwalker Ranch. It's kind of become more popular over maybe the last decade, starting with like Lou Elizondo being connected to it, and others like Bigelow Enterprise. I can't remember the name of the company, but Bigelow, that's the name of the company. And
Like teas?
sorry, go ahead.
Like the teas? Bigelow teas?
Not that. Well, maybe he was in charge of that too, but obviously, Senator Reid, who was very attached to the whole Bigelow enterprise. But I mean, to me, I hadn't heard a lot about this before. It was never on my radar, and I don't think it. I mean, unless you're really in tune to the UFO, UAP sort of paranormal community, which is a big one,
Mm-hmm.
we probably would not have heard of this.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to diving into it. So why don't we do that now?
Let's do that right now.
All right.
Cattle mutilation events that were occurring with their prized cows, but also poltergeist-like activity and even UFO sightings that were occurring on a pretty regular basis. The fact that the Navajo tribe cursed this property as a result of conflict with the Ute tribe and the federal government is something that has been confirmed over and over by members of the community, by elders.
This goes way previous to Robert Bigelow in 1996. The Shermans owned it from 1994 to 1996, only 2 years, and sold it for $200,000 to Bigelow. What? Did they sell it because of all the activity that was happening?
Yeah. Well, if you go back in time, the property was originally homesteaded. I mean, you had Native Americans that were part of the process, and you had old early homesteaders that built the structures on the property and resided on the property going back to the late 1800s, early 1900s. By the 1940s, the Myers family, and specifically Kenneth and Edith Myers, proceeded to live there and ranch on the property and stayed there their entire lives. Both Kenneth and Edith ended up passing away in the late 80s and early 90s. Kenneth passed away in the late 80s, and Edith ended up being put in assisted care, I believe, in the early 90s. And their brother-in-law, who had legal authority over the estate, sold the property in 1994 to the Sherman family, who desired a place to raise cattle and their family. Shortly after the Shermans acquired the property, they were overwhelmed with not only cattle mutilation events that were occurring with their prized cows, but also poltergeist-like activity and even UFO sightings that were occurring on a pretty regular basis. They were being terrorized.
So, I mean, some of this sounds very similar to like one of the very first episodes that we put out talking about the Hell House. It's like there's so many things that are going on there that are affecting other people, right? It's like whoever moves into that house is like affected by something else. But this isn't just that. That's like we're talking about like real uh, disparate and different paranormal activity events that are happening in this area. And it's not just, the Bigelows. It's like everybody who's
Yeah.
like ever lived there.
I mean, it's almost like bad juju compounds other bad juju, compounds out the bad juju, right?
Yeah. And then just certain places that you just probably shouldn't mess with. And,
Yeah.
this might be one of them. So maybe, again, we're going to get into a bit more, but my idea is that this is one of those areas in the country that just happens to be kind of like a weak portal, like the abilities for things to happen, whether or not it's paranormal or it's a UAP event or whatever it happens to be. there's definitely something that's going on. There is a long history of it.
Okay. All right. We'll continue here.
It caught the attention of a journalist at the Deseret News, a guy named Zach Van Eyck, who came out, was convinced that they were credible, that they were telling the truth, and wrote I think several articles detailing the accounts of UFO activity, bizarre cattle mutilations, and other strangeness on the property. Those accounts made their way to one Robert Bigelow in North Las Vegas. Mr. Bigelow had established the National Institute for Discovery Science, a separate side project and program for investigating strange phenomena, including UFOs and cattle mutilation, and he quickly flew in on his private jet, accompanied by Colonel John Alexander, and cut a deal with the Shermans, acquired the property quickly, kept Mr. Sherman on for a short period of time to help with the transition, and his team of scientists not only locked down the whole property and secured it, but they proceeded to put up observation towers with bait pens surrounded by razor wire. There are 3 observation towers located across the property that incorporate bait pens, where they would use animals as biosensors to hopefully draw out whatever entities were there on the property. Predator-like activity, as they described it.
I've seen that scene in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, we've seen that too, and it didn't work out too well for the bait, but also brought out some of the other stuff too. I mean, I don't know about that, but the idea of bait being put out by the U.S. government or other governments to try to draw in certain paranormal activity is not it's not that far gone, and it's not crazy. It's like that's what they do.
Yeah.
They're trying to do it, and there's a lot of evidence to support that. This is kind of again, what he's describing sounds a little bit more like kind of Jurassic Park, but I feel like there's probably more to it than what he's disclosing. And yeah, I don't know. I think can we really do that? Do we have the ability for certain things? Maybe, but not everything for sure.
It's so like so earlier in the video, he was describing that the experiences basically ran the gamut, right? UFOs.
Yeah.
First of all, if he says cattle mutilation one more time, I'm not exactly sure.
I agree with that. He is very in love with that particular, which is a very popular video, which we're going to put in the video description of this. But no, I guess it is something.
Cattle mutilation is kind of indicative of obviously of a paranormal, happening, but related to UFOs specifically, right? Because it's like the what is it, sanguination or exsanguination or something like that is called.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I do agree that it is related to it, and it's something that there's certain things like the crop circles.
Yeah.
And I would say the cattle mutilations are kind of related in a certain way. It's like we can't explain that necessarily, and why it appears in these areas that where certain people live, like farms and ranches and things like that. Is it a cult? Is it alien? What is it? Doesn't seem to me like it seems to me like it's been going on for quite a lot longer, and so it could be either a cult or UAP related, and I don't know which.
All right, continue here.
That continued on for years, and of course, years later, the events, the activity, the investigation at Skinwalker Ranch was brought to the attention of officials at the Pentagon. They had several visitors who had experiences, very compelling, undeniable experiences of paranormal activity, and that led to the black budget Pentagon funded program that involved the ranch at its center, and the rest is history. But by 2013, that program had ceased for various reasons. Mr. Bigelow was actively engaged with growing his aerospace company and jumping into the private space race, as we discussed. And the ranch, to a degree, it had faded. At the time, I was led to believe that it was simply because Mr. Bigelow was just buried, was very busy with getting his beam modules and his space habitats up in orbit and ultimately on the moon and Mars, which I believe was true. But also, I've learned he ascribed negative events afflicting his family to really his ownership of the ranch.
Hmm.
So there's several things when I looked at this video I didn't notice at the beginning because I was just trying to find like really good and we're gonna get into some more really good stuff too. But the guy's got just look at it. He's got a Mountain Dew right there. And just a few seconds before, they were obviously in a bar because there was like a whole bunch of liquor all the way across the counter. Um, I don't know. I mean, maybe. And I've tried to really look into this whole Skinwalker Ranch and Bigelow thing, and there's a lot of good things that sort of support um, some of the actual science that they did. I don't think you want to have like a bottle of like is it Diet Mountain Dew or a regular Mountain Dew plus like a couple screens earlier like an entire bar talking about something that you're talking about seriously. It's like I want to be taken seriously if I'm talking about this, and none of this stuff. I don't even know what that shit is like behind him. Like, what is going on there? It looks like a bunch of nonsense, and so that's a little disappointing.
It's
It doesn't necessarily say that it's full of shit, but I mean, come on,
questioning his credibility.
a little bit, a little bit.
Well, let's continue here.
Owning the ranch was not a positive experience for him.
Even before him, though, this went back to Native American tribes. I mean, even in the show,
Yeah.
you know, I believe he, correct me if I'm wrong, are they hydroglyphs? Is that what you call them?
Petroglyphs. So
Petroglyphs.
there's
Not
rock
hydroglyphs,
art.
yeah.
There's, we have a megalithic site there as well that we've investigated in the area. But there's a lot of rock art and evidence of the ancients, of the Native Americans working on the property. There's also a strange Masonic symbol that is etched into the face of the mesa that many have claimed symbolizes as above, so below. There are a lot of things relative to the history that are intriguing and a little bit ambiguous, but the Native American history, the tradition, and the fact that the Navajo tribe cursed this property as a result of conflict with the Ute tribe and the federal government is something that has been confirmed over and over.
Has it been confirmed over and over? And then again, they show the bar and like a full thing of the American flag there. And he talks with such like conviction, right? Like he knows what's going on down there. And I don't know. I mean, it could be. I'm not saying it's not, but this seems to be like a very strange like expression. And I think this is a good example of why people should be skeptic, but also open minded. It's like the camera angle, so the things that they're showing does not inspire confidence. And I don't know if that's on purpose or if that's just trying to be like cool or what they're doing. But if I'm serious about something, I ain't going to show like a full fucking bar. I'm not going to talk about like, how we taking over the native lands and all this kind of stuff. It's just, I don't know about that. But Skinwalker Ranch has like a long history without this guy, but they're not presenting it in a very good light. I don't know. I mean, what's your opinion on this one so far?
I'm not as distracted about it. I mean, I'm there. I'm listening to the content, And I imagine that the folks listening on the podcast will not be distracted about anything that you're
Well,
talking.
I'm just looking at the visuals. I know you can't see it if you're on the podcast, but I mean, there's like a lot of weird shit that says white privilege is like describing the Skinwalker Ranch. That's all I'm saying. Would you agree with that?
Uh, yes, but I
It doesn't mean it's wrong.
yeah, it does not mean it's wrong, but I don't know. I also just want to let you know because I had feeling that it did happen, but the show Ghost Adventures did do an episode at
That
Skinwalker
Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah,
Ranch.
well, we'll have to look at that one too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but again, that's also another outfit that's not very credible. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, see,
But
that's the whole thing. It's like, I just want to see someone do an actual an investigation of this place. And again, there's all sorts of like crazy claims about this area, and it might be, there might be some smoke, there's fire, right? It's just we just have to like look at that. But from this particular clip that we're looking at, this particular episode, I don't trust them,
okay, well, let's
even
continue.
though I even though I picked it.
Yeah, you picked it, so I wasn't about to say it. So thanks for fessing up to that. Here we go.
When the Bigelow team first descended on the property and set up their investigation and heard the accounts of, the curse, the Skinwalker curse, and the lore that surrounded this property, it ultimately was referred to as Skinwalker Ranch as opposed to the Utah Ranch. For a period of time, it was just simply the Utah Ranch or the Bigelow Ranch in Utah, and then took on the identity of Skinwalker Ranch as they just simply started referring to the property as such, as a result of the Native American.
What is a skinwalker?
A skinwalker is a shape-shifting demonic entity. It's essentially a Native American witch or warlock that sells their soul
The shapeshifter.
in exchange for immortality, the ability to take on the skin or shapeshift, oftentimes in the form of a wolf, a dire wolf, or a werewolf-like creature, but they can also take on the shape of other animals as well. And it's a topic that I found the Native American community likes to stay away from. They don't like to discuss it. To even say the name Skinwalker is negative.
Okay.
And it's a key part of their cultural tradition and history. Skinwalkers to the Native Americans in the Uinta Basin are just as real as this chair, as this bottle of Diet Mountain Dew. It's a very real part
Diet Mountain Dew
of their cultural history.
Most of what he said was exactly accurate from what I sort of gathered from it. The fact that I didn't realize that was Diet Mountain Dew is my own fault. But, I do agree. I think that, there is like the fact that, these certain connotations and, uh, thoughts about their own cultural background are like, it's like, nah, this is effed up. See, that seems to me like more real than anything else. It's like there could be certain things that occur, like we've talked about all sorts of cryptids and things like that, sort of along that nature. That if a subject like that is like sort of taboo, but like doesn't want to be talked about, they're not trying to market it. It's the whiteys who's trying to market it. Like they're like, no, let's not talk about this stuff. We don't want to talk about it. That lends to me the idea that it's more real than not, and it could be.
Right.
I'm open to that.
Right. If the original inhabitants of the area do not even want to mention the name or tell of details that happened there, yeah, I agree that lends more credibility to the possibility that these paranormal activities are happening, right? Uh, I mean, there's always the thought about, I don't know, what is it called, like a nexus, you know, that basically like this is it's an area where things happen
Yep.
because it's got the right, I don't know, it's got the right energy, it's got the right condition in order for paranormal activity to take place, because that's it for the paranormal activity. That's what they need. They need a certain type of vibration, a certain type of energy. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, and I think we've both been in areas in our lives where we've kind of felt that a little bit.
Yeah.
Certainly there's some places here and even in Oregon where you're just like, this doesn't seem like normal compared with the rest of the state. It's not just like the surroundings and like the look of it. It's just like you have a feel to it. And like I drove all over Arizona back in 2020,
Yeah.
early 2024,
Yeah.
and got like really weird vibes from some areas. Other areas, like, no, it was totally cool. It wasn't about like whether it was in civilization or not. It's just like
Or
some things
rural.
you just sort of look at and it's like, and being around is like, this is not a normal area. And so I
Yeah.
think that some people can sort of feel that. And I think everybody can probably feel it if they really looked inside themselves a little bit and sort of consider where they were at. But I think for us, being experienced in investigators, like we can sort of see some of those areas. And I think anybody else who watches this was like, yeah, I can totally dig that.
And those are the times where you kind of want to trust your gut, right? Like if you're feeling
Yeah.
something,
Yep.
you're sensing, and maybe you can't even put it into words, there's probably something there. But I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, we were former paranormal investigators, so we always approach things also with a heavy dose of skepticism. So
Absolutely.
so it's going to be like, I guess, trying to achieve a balance with that. I'm definitely gonna have to. Gosh, I really don't want to watch that Skinwalker episode, that Ghost Adventures show. But I was
I
looking,
want to go there though. I would love to go there.
I was Googling. It looks like there's actually another. There's a possibly a documentary about it, so I might watch it. But this is interesting because, again, I feel it mixes a bunch of things, right? It mixes the cryptid possibility with the Skinwalkers. It mixes UAP. He also mentioned poltergeist activity, uh,
Yep.
a curse from the Navajo Nation against the Utes. I mean, it's
It's all over. Yeah. Right.
it's a smorgasbord.
It's an amazing place, and so when there's so much stuff going on in one area, you sort of have to look at that
Yeah,
and sort of just like think about it from a scientific perspective. I think.
yeah. Well, if you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and share it across your socials to help get the word out about our show. If you hadn't already done so, please subscribe. And on YouTube, hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.